What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode. I remember as a kid, um, watching TV, eating TV dinners. This was back when like The Simpsons first came out, Seinfeld, you know, even through when Friends first came on. Uh, and one of my favorite meals was Salisbury steak. It was such, it was nice and salty, meaty. It even came with dessert. And of course, mashed potatoes and the green beans. So, folks, after reminiscing about my childhood, why don't we make Salisbury steak here at home? Take that TV dinner stuff, throw it in the trash, because we can replicate that here. And I'm doing something a little bit different with the show. So, let's dive on in. So this recipe calls for 1.5 pounds of ground beef. However, I only have 1 pound. So instead of using 2 eggs, I'm just going to add a little bit of milk to my beaten egg. Like maybe a tablespoon. This way I'm going to have something more like, an egg and a half. Alright, so let's get ourselves a nice mixing bowl. Let's put our ground beef in here. Alright. So let's grab our seasoned salt, friends. I use Johnny's. You guys can use Lowry's, seasoned salt, season all. But for 1.5 pounds of meat, it calls for 1 tablespoon. So let's go just underneath, just shy of a tablespoon. Dried mustard. I'm going with 1 heaping tablespoon of dried mustard. If you guys want to use wet mustard, that's fine. Smoked paprika. I'm also going with 1 heaping teaspoon. And if you don't have smoked paprika and you just have plain paprika, that's totally fine. 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire. So I'm going to go with about 1.5 tablespoons. And ketchup. We need about 4 tablespoons, friends. So I'm going to go with probably 3. And let's not forget about our egg with a little bit of milk. If you are using a 1.5 pounds of meat, just beat 2 eggs. The recipe will be down in the description. Alright, now let's get down and dirty. All right, now that's all mixed well, we want plain breadcrumbs. And I already have a cup here. I'm just going to add a little bit at a time. So let's start off with about half of a cup. And we need just enough for this meat mixture to come together. You know, like you want this to form into patties. I added in about half of that, so we're now at about 3/4 of a cup. That looks pretty good to me, folks. It's hanging on. All right. We will cover this, set it in the fridge, and let it rest for about 30 minutes. Meanwhile, we can start the gravy. So find a nice sized pot, guys. Let's throw in about a tablespoon of oil. You can use avocado oil, grapeseed oil, vegetable oil. We're also going to need 2 tablespoons of butter. And we'll wait for this to melt, get nice and hot, and we'll throw in our mushrooms. Alright guys, now that it's all hot, add 1 pound of sliced mushrooms. Make sure they're washed, they're peeled, not peeled, washed and sliced. If you guys buy them sliced already, that makes your job even easier. But we're going to cook these things down until all the moisture is out. I forget what the percentage of water that mushrooms are, but it's something crazy, like 70-80%. So these guys will shrink down tremendously. So once we get to that stage, which will be about, about 10 minutes, then I'll bring y'all back. Alright guys, at this point, I turned my heat up to about medium high. Look at all this water. This is the stuff I want to boil off. And then once that water's out, I will add my onion. And while this water is boiling off, I will mix this around every now and then. But in the meantime, get yourself 1 large onion. It can be sweet onion, yellow onion, white onion, whatever you choose. And just make sure you don't have to dice it up fine, but give it a nice good chop. Because we want 1 large onion. Alright guys, so while that water's out, let's turn our heat down to medium. And our onion will all go in. And now we'll just saute this for another, I say 5 to 8 minutes until our onion becomes nice and translucent. And we can even take it a little bit further too if you'd like. All right, guys. Once our onions are now nice and tender, mine have a little bit of color. That just might be from the mushrooms. Let's take our 6 tablespoons of flour, all-purpose flour. We're just going to add a little bit at a time, just to make sure everything gets nice and coated. Like, we literally want everything coated. And there is going to be a fond that develops on the bottom here. All right. But we are going to want to cook this flour for a few minutes. This flour is going to help thicken up our gravy. And we want to cook this so you don't get that flour taste. Have you ever put raw flour in your mouth or had gravy that didn't have the flour cooked out of it? Yeah, it's not that tasty. It's kind of caca-y. No one likes caca. Let's turn our temperature down to medium-low. And let's stir in some of our beef broth. Do not add it all in at once. Little at a time, friends. If you add in all your beef broth at once, you'll get lumps. Add a little bit in, mix it up. Wait for it to get thick. Kind of scrape that bottom so that fond comes off. Alright, it's getting thick. Let's add some more. Alright, and now we will cook this for about 15-20 minutes or until this becomes nice and thick. I almost forgot 2 more things, friends. Let's also add in 1 tablespoon of our Worcestershire W sauce. And also 2 tablespoons of wine. I'm using a Pinot Noir, but y'all can use whatever you want. Just make sure it's a red wine. Red wine for red meat. And now we will cook this until it thickens. And stir occasionally. You don't want this to burn. Alright guys, this has thickened up nicely compared to what it was before. But yeah, this is just like our Salisbury steak TV tray gravy. The consistency is. Let's turn off that heat. Let's pull her off the heat. In the dish we had the beef broth in, we're going to pour this into here. It's just a way to save on dishes, just so you don't have to clean up as much. All right, we're going to clean this out so all that gravy does not burn. And now let's form our patties. So if you had 1.5 pounds, you're going to want to make 6 patties, so about a 1/4 pound each. Since I only have 1 pound, I'm going to go with 4 patties. Now, if y'all had a scale, you can measure this out to make them perfect. I do have a scale, but I'm not going to do that. Oh, but this smells wonderful. And form these into whatever shape you would like. There's 1 patty, and I got 3 more to go, friends. Alright guys, we got our patty shaped. Now we need 2 tablespoons of butter. Follow me. Alright, our clean pot, medium heat, and we're going to melt these guys down, because we have to brown our patties. Alright, our butter over medium heat is melted. Let's add in our patties. Oh, and my patties are about 1/2 inch thick. Alright. Now, like I said, we're going to brown these guys on both sides, about 3 to 5 minutes on each side. Alright, y'all. Let's flip them. Nice, beautiful brown crust. Alright. And now we're going to let these brown on the other side again. And personally, I do like this dark crust because we're going to pour our gravy over the top, finish this off, and that dark crust is going to flake off and give us more flavor. Alright guys, we got a beautiful crust on each side. Now, let's pour in the gravy. Ooh-wee. All right, let's just give this a nice little mix. And we'll let this cook. Oh, and make sure you lift the bottom of those steaks up, just so they get contact with the liquid. All right, there she goes, mateys. Arr. And as this comes up to a gentle boil, friends, we'll just turn down that heat and let it simmer for anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes and as long as 10 minutes long.
A few moments later.
All right, guys. I'll let this go for about another 8 minutes. And I gently stirred it. Let's pull her off the heat. Yes, sir. All right, friends. Salisbury steak. And I made creamy mashed potatoes. Let's serve it up, huh? You know what? Let's do the mashed potatoes first. Voila, friends. Salisbury steak with creamy mashed potatoes. All right, guys. Let's try out our beautiful Salisbury steak and creamy mashed potatoes. You know, the creamy mashed potatoes I didn't show because I've done this many times. I'll link a link in the description because I've done these things many times on the show. So, but the Salisbury steak, though, ooh, this texture is beautiful. It's firm. I mean, it just looks great. I mean, let's try her out, friends. Oh my god. Mm-mm-mm. This is a must make, friends. Wow. Hungry man I loved Hungry Man as a kid. And there's always this weird flavor that it had. This, my friends, you want Salisbury steak? You want to be wowed by Salisbury steak? I promise you, this will wow you. I am wowed by this. The meat is firm, almost like a meatloaf, but yet it is full of flavor. It's sweet, it's tangy, it's salty. The crust on the outside gives it a good texture. So even though the inside's kind of on the firm side, the outside, if you give it a good crust, it gives it another form of texture. The creamy mashed potatoes with that gravy, buttery goodness. It's salty, great pepper. With the smoked paprika, there's a little smokiness to it too. And then the mushrooms, they add a nice texture on top of that. And the onions add a sweetness. Oh, and the Worcestershire, the W sauce adds a great umami. This hits all of the taste buds. It's sweet, it's savory, it's smoky, very slightly, but the smoked paprika, yes. Friends, this is a must make. If I had to rate this, 15 out of 10. I know I rate things over 10, but believe me, when you make this, this will be a 10 out of 10 for you. And if you make this and it's not a 10 out of 10, let me know. I'll come to your place and I'll make it for you. Mm. Well, thanks for tuning in, you guys. Let me tell you, this Salisbury steak surpassed my expectations. There's so many flavors going on. Honestly, look, I am not a chef. I'm just a home cooked guy that likes to fart around in the kitchen. And this Salisbury steak, kudos to you, Cowboy Kent Rollins. This is his recipe, and let me tell you, it's one of the best. There's, like I said, there's so many flavors going on. I can't even explain it. I don't have the knowledge to do so. But hey, if y'all like this episode, hit that thumbs up. Follow me. Make sure your notifications are turned on so you know when I have a new episode. And comment down below. Have you ever been a Salisbury steak fan? Did you ever eat TV trays? When I was a kid, I loved kid cuisines. I remember there being a penguin, I think a polar bear, but I just remember the kid cuisines in like this bluish box. Loved it. I just want to give a big thank you out to my subscribers on Locals. Jennifer Lynn 02, Keeper of the Park, and the newest member, Neutral Ground. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate y'all's support. It means a lot to me. Well, thanks for tuning in, folks.